Good morning, everyone. I'm Harshita Sharma, a member of Legal Vidya. Uh, we proudly invite you all for our first webinar on Force Legal Majeure, importance under COVID-19 era. Our website, Legal Vidya, intends to provide legal awareness by providing general contents on law, legal system, legal news, and updates. The idea behind Legal Vidya was to provide in-depth and brief analysis of law field to students and any legal enthusiast. The eminent speaker of the day, Miss Bhavna, is a law graduate and have done her advanced diploma in business, laws, and cross-border transactions from Webster University, Ghana. She has a significant experience of over 3.5 years in alternate dispute resolution laws, especially arbitration and corporate laws, and is currently working as deputy legal manager in an MNC based in Accra-Ghana. I would like to thank ma'am which she will bestow on us. I would like to invite ma'am for her presentation.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bhavna. Am I audible? Can you please tell me, am I audible clearly, please?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Stay. Okay. So, good morning, everyone, and not everyone, but just my friends. I have been informed by the organizers that you guys belong to like first, second, or third year of law or the School of Arts. So I just welcome everyone with me, and this section will be more friendly rather than more formal. So you guys can talk about anything, any doubts apart from the topic we are in. We don't have to divert from the topic. I won't be taking a lot of time, but if anything comes up to you, like if you are looking for some other query in particular of your field, so you can connect with me, as I'll be giving you my email ID so we can catch up out there. So starting with today's session, the topic for the presentation or topic for the webinar or a formal or a friendly get together is like force major. I don't know how many of you have heard about the term force major. Have any of the law student or any of the student from faculty of arts have heard about the term called force major? Okay, so to start with, to just a normal conversation, if I'll be putting up, what is law? Can any of you answer what is law for you guys? Is it rules or regulations, or is it something like a law of sovereign command by sanction, or what? For me, law is nothing but is a common sense. It's a codified common sense. Some people sitting on the parliament, or some people, some higher dignitaries, have made a codified common sense which tells you or which informs you or which make you understand to stay in a society within the people what is right or what is wrong. Everyone have that common sense, just that when the situation comes or when the circumstances comes, we don't apply that common sense. You know that murdering someone or harming somebody's property is a trespass, or it's a nuisance you are creating, but still you do it. But when you are losing your normal common sense, codified common sense comes in and tell you, okay, this is the wrong you have done, and this is the penal actions or the sanctions are applicable on you. So that is what law is all about. If start speaking on law, what is law, there's like enough time I'll be consuming. So just jumping on the other part, how law and society relates, because I believe there are some art students also in this panel discussion. So going with them, you guys, this topic is equally relevant for you guys if you're hearing me out. As much as a law student will be benefiting out of this topic, you will be also benefiting out of this topic, because ultimately the people from the school of arts or school of law, you guys are the social engineers. You're here to deal with the society, you're here to deal with people out there in the society. It's not something you'll be going to the courts and just dealing with the judges or the people of bar. No, even the judges and the people of bar, they're dealing with the society ultimately. So law and society go hand in hand. People from humanities background, maybe they are pursuing psychology, they are pursuing history, they're pursuing geography. You all somewhere or the other have to apply law in different phase or spheres of your life. So law and society go hands in hand. Coming to today's topic, which is one of the important aspect from the law of contracts. And even this law of contracts is not something that only people from the law background have to understand. People from every aspect of life on a daily basis enter in some or the other contract. Even if you're going to a grocery shop and buying something from that grocery shop or a dmart or a reliance store, you are entering into contact. You are getting something out of the grocery store, you're paying to them, you'll get a receipt, and it's kind of a contract you are entering, that the person have
Excuse me,
agreed.
ma'am. I'm sorry
Yes.
to disturb you. Actually, your presentation is not visible.
Okay, just a minute please.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So coming to the correlation between a contract law, it's the daily agreements or the arrangements we guys enter into the daily phases of our life. As I told you, a very small example of a grocery shop, a florist, if you're walking into a dentist clinic, you're entering into agreement. The dentist have agreed to see you, what the issue is, you'll be paying the fees, and it's all the arrangement you guys are being into. Now, Force Majeure, particularly the topic, the discussion, the word on which this webinar is all based upon, is nothing but a bipolarate clause under the contracts. Now everybody will be thinking what this term she have used, she have come with a fancy term. No, it's nothing. Bipolarate clauses are like a general, standard, or miscellaneous clauses. See, if any of you guys, I'm sorry to interrupt in between, any of you guys are not comfortable speaking me in English, I can go hand in hand. Like I can speak Hindi in between too. So for me, it's fine. So you guys can come up with this thing that if you want a mix, um, way of communication to you, or is English is fine to you guys? Harshita, are you
I
listening?
guess, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I guess English is fine with us.
Okay, everybody is comfortable, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so sorry, let's continue with the thing. So, boilerplate clauses are nothing but the basic standard general miscellaneous clauses. You know, when we draft a contract and when you review a contract or when you see a copy of any contract, maybe a car hire agreement or maybe a rental agreement, the basic one. If you see your tenancy agreement of your university of or any of your houses or your flats, anything, you will see some clauses are there at the end, like the last pages. They are called the bipolarate clauses. They're very standard, general, miscellaneous. Every lawyer or every advocate or every person who's drafting an agreement puts such clauses in the end. They are basically the clauses which governs, like, what if this clause is or this agreement is unforeseeable, then what will happen? Okay, in future if there is an amendment, what will happen to this contract? Okay, this contract is governed by which law? Is it governed by an Indian law? Is it governed by a Ghanaian law? Is it governed by the law of UAE? And the dispute resolution, if some dispute have arisen, how the parties are going to take it forward. Will there be a civil jurisdiction? Will there be jurisdiction into the court of the highest reward, like the Supreme Court? All will we go for the arbitration? So, and Above all these clauses, there's a one clause called force majeure. You will definitely find force majeure clause in the major commercial contracts. If two MNCs or some two entities, cross border entities are coming up, they definitely will be inserting a force majeure clause. Even under RERA laws, under Indian laws, you see, in the RERA laws or in the rental agreements or in the tenancy agreements, you will be finding a force majeure law. Maybe it's not that provocative, or maybe it's not exhaustive that it includes all the events, but you will somewhere or other way find a force majeure law. So to start with and to focus with the today's topic of the conversation between us, it's the force majeure law during COVID-19 pandemic. So the force majeure, the term force majeure, it's a very general term, but it's have derived from French origin, which means superior force, something which is unpredictable, which is beyond your control, which is beyond your thinking. So when you are providing a contract to someone, or when two parties are having a contract, they put force majeure clause that okay, today the time is right, maybe the time is in favor of us, tomorrow an uncertainty which is like beyond our control, beyond our thinking comes up. Then what? Then what the covenants and the obligations of this contract or this force majeure will be, take place, how the things will go. Suppose that two people have entered into a contract stating that they will be delivering 10 airplanes within the span of 2 years, but the contract have happened in 2019. Initial January 2020, two planes were delivered, but in the March the lockdowns were imposed. Now what happened to the rest 8 planes delivery? Won't be taken place? Suppose one of them was about to fly from the destination of the manufacturer to the person who's receiving the airplane. Now what happened? Maybe the person, the spice jet, or the, I think, one party who is taking the delivery of the airplanes go and sue the manufacturers for not delivering it on the time. So what will happen? Then the thing called force majeure will come. The protection or the thing which manufacturer will use in their favor will be the term called force majeure into their agreement, which will clearly states that in case either of the party is have is liable for any failure or delay in performing in obligations under their agreement due to any causes. Maybe it includes act of gods, maybe it includes accidents, riots, war, epidemic, pandemic, quarantine, anything. So that comes to an us that's come to a rescue for the manufacturer at that point of time. Sometimes there are the agreements, and sometimes the situations are such that it is impossible for the person to perform under that circumstances, to perform their obligations under those timings. So different coming to the rescue, because it's not as it's a normal saying that your time or your conditions are not same every time, change is only constant. To protect that, force measures have been included as a bipolar clauses into the commercial or the normal contracts. In some jurisdictions, like in some laws, maybe hello, do anybody have
Uh,
a question or something?
no, ma'am. Please continue.
Yeah, okay. So for knowing the applicability of force majeure laws, some jurisdictions like the Indian courts, the Ghanaian courts, the English courts, they take different tests to determine whether this concept of force majeure is actually there, or parties will get relief under a force majeure clause or not. There are several parameters on which the force majeure's applicability are determined. The first is unpredictability. If the court sees the situation, or if the law sees the situation that okay, this is totally unpredictable. When, like, 2019, I was making a contract of delivery of 10 airplanes. It was not, you know, seeable that okay, in March 2020, a prime minister will come and announce a lockdown, which is like a totally unprecedented situation. There was no precedent when the prime minister have come and just shut everything out. Please exclude the emergency situation which has happened in past. That is something codified under constitution law, so that's a procedure you all know. But a lockdown, the term lockdown was very new to us, and due to that lockdown the manufacturer was not able to deliver an airplane which was supposed to deliver in March 2020. So there the courts have seen, okay, the force major thing is there. The next concept, the next test is the external force of that, event. Is it something which is beyond the control of the parties? Having a flood on the runway where the plane is supposed to land is beyond the control of the parties. Maybe they can mitigate those things by, making proper arrangements of draining of water and everything, but that is a different aspect. But suppose a delivery have to happen by 12 p.m on that day, and that time the flood situation is there or something, uh a riot or something is there that the plane cannot come, the person goes on the strikes, the crew goes on the strike, and it's very unpredictable. Then also sometimes the court consider the concept of force majors. And third aspect is irresistibility. Is this something that you can't mitigate, you can't control at all? Is it something like impossible to act on that time? So these are the different parameters which court, take into the consideration, or which the people of law take into the consideration while determining whether the force major is applicable to your case or not. Now, coming back to the different aspect that force major in COVID-19 era. So, when the COVID-19 hit in March 2020 in full fledgedly, though it was started in December 2019, but March 2020 was the time when everybody, it was a buzzing word among the people that okay, something called COVID, something called corona have knocked their doors, and every other lawmaker is coming out and announcing a lockdown. There was shutdown of the aviation travel industries, borders were crossed, and you see the possible aspects. Everybody, if I'm speaking about COVID-19, you guys must be having images flashing out, sitting in your, rooms, afraid what to do, what not to do. Now think about those people who have something or the other going on in the normal fashion. Like in a normal life we were doing a lot of things. You guys, okay, tomorrow you have an appointment with dentist, that was an arrangement. You have taken an appointment on 21st March 2020, the lockdown was announced. 23, you have taken an appointment in a normal fashion, but you are not there. You didn't went there because of the lockdown, but you have breached that contract between you and your dentist that you will be arriving by 3 p.m. to his or her clinic. So that was a arrangement, or that was an agreement between you, and you have broken that because of COVID-19. But will the question is, will here the dentist can sue you that you have not walked in at 3 p.m. He was waiting there, he was waiting for his, service fees, he was waiting for his fees and everything. So that is the important aspect, or that is the important point which you all have to, or which the parties to a contract have to prove that okay, this is the excuse, and that's why we have not performed under our contractual obligations. So during that time a lot of people have approached us, other advocates, their legal counsels, the people who are handling their contract, asking, you know the way out, like how they will be saved from their contractual obligations. For example, one of my client, I can take you a live example. One of my client, I work in a hospitality part also, and I work in a real estate also. So one of my client, that time he was so panicked. He was about to give a delivery of 20 flats to someone, but during the lockdown everything happened. He was so panicked that last minute touches were not being done into that apartments. and he approached me and asking me, okay ma'am, what next, how the guy will sue me, because the guy was a very, the other party was very prominent one in Ghana. They belong to some, like the people who are in power. So 20 flats was a big deal that time. Only the thing which has saved him that time was a force major clause. So that time he have understood the importance of that clause, that okay, this is the one that have saved me. And sometimes even the advocates, while drafting a contract, they don't put the force major clauses. And it's very general, there are many contracts the court have came across a many documents in which there the force major clauses were not there. So, while dealing with such cases, even while dealing with the matters in which the force major clauses were not there, but everybody know that the force major clause is something, a aspect of a common law system. Even it's a civil law system, it comes into the civil law aspects also. So the courts, while dealing with such matters, have done, 3-step interpretation during that matters, during still the court right now. Even there are people who are taking excuse of COVID-19. If you have not submitted some document, oh, why you have not some, oh, because of COVID-19 this got delayed, because of COVID-19 my payment got delayed, because of COVID-19 we can't pay the school fees, because of this, okay, I have booked a banquet hall for a marriage and I'm not able to organize a party because of, the permissions not being given by the authorities. Only 25 people were allowed, 50 people were allowed. So there are lots and lots of matters which are lying in court, and the excuse is COVID-19. So as a law student, as a normal person, as a person who have a contract copy in your hands and you want to understand by yourself, will this COVID-19 excuse will help me, or will it be excuse in the eyes of law? So if we see how courts have interpreted it, you will be better after this session. You will be knowing, or you'll be helping someone if somebody will be asking you, okay, I have this contract copy, I have not done this because of COVID, will court will help me, or will I get some relief? So you guys will be able to answer that. That what I believe, at least. So the courts have adopted, and by the way of courts, I'm not even referring to the Indian courts. I'm referring to the courts of Illinois that comes into US. I'm referring to the courts of UK. I'm referring to the courts of Ghana, where I practice per se. And per se, right now, if I was researching, I find more and more, laws, or more and more covenants, or more and more cases where I can have found that Indian courts have also come forward and helped people in those aspects. So the first and the foremost approach the courts have applied was to look into the specific language of your force major clause, and like how all the events constitutes a force major. Every law, every document have a different language of a force major. It's not a strict, drafting is an art. Every today I'll be drafting something else, tomorrow your colleague Sakshi or the guys from this platform will be drafting something else, some other language. Maybe I'll be putting act of God, somebody will be describing what act of God will be into the force major. Some I'll be putting epidemic, somebody will be putting government sanctions. So court has seen the specific languages of those clauses, that whether you're excused of not performing under those contract is actually comes under those languages. So there were some cases in which people have taken an excuse. Okay,
Yeah.
I have booked a banquet hall and paid a sum of 5 lakh rupees to the guy as an advance, and my wedding was scheduled on 1st April 2020. Now, because the government have announced a complete lockdown, I can't manage to take that booking. So I want a refund. So in that matter, the court of Andhra Pradesh have given a partial relief to the people, seeing that it was unpredictable, unprecedented condition. Though the other opinion, the minority opinion of the court was there was no such word specifically into the force major clause, the clause between the banquet person who have given a service agreement to the party, as stating that okay, the word called quarantine or pandemic or government sanction, it was just nothing. It was just act of God written in that. But the court, going into a tweaking their normal laws or the normal, what say, the procedures, they have tweaked into a new fashion and give people relief. The second aspects which court see always is whether the defined event, the situation, or the facts you are lying in front of them actually have caused the delay and non-performance of the contract. Coming back to my example of delivering a 10 airplanes to a X airline was completely fitted into that. You were not allowed to, fly an airplane that time because the borders were closed, the aviation industry was shut. So that it makes the delivery of the airplane, because you have crossed your borders, the manufacturer was sitting somewhere in UK, and the person who needs the airline who needs the delivery is somewhat sitting in India. The borders were closed. You were not allowed to use the airspace. You can't bring an airplane, or you can't drag an airplane and land it on your borders. So that was a valid excuse or valid delay caused by the manufacturer, and it have impacted in non-performance of his obligations under those contracts. So court have given them the relief by stating them giving a prominent time schedule. Okay, you were about to deliver this in April 2020. Now, after once the event is finished, start delivering it, or how the situation allows you. The third aspect is finally the courts were looking into the relief, how the everywhere the law is there to help people. It's not something, if something is not written, you can't give a relief to the person. Here comes the role of the advocate or the person who is representing you in front of law, how they tweak and they turn the concept or of law or the things in your favor. So here comes the people like the advocates or the lawyers, the attorneys who were arguing for their clients, who were fighting for their clients to get them the relief. So courts have adopted a very strict approach and a fashion relief approach also. The term fashion relief means when there are the changes in the society, the courts decides not with what is codified in a book of law or in a statute or somewhere has been decided, but they discover something new and they give a judgment something new. I was reading somewhere around like past few days, they say that if you're getting married out of illicit or an illegal relationship, still that person who was in an illegal or illicit relationship, suppose a female counterpart, they will be considered as your family. So you will be getting a relief under the you know family laws. In future, if some mishap happens and you are into an illegal relationship, you will be getting a relief out of it. So during the COVID era, also the courts have come forward, the lawmakers have come forward and provided different kind of reliefs to people under exploring their force major clauses, going beyond the aspects of the force major clauses which were there in the, I can say, in your contracts which were pre-drafted before 2020 or which were pre-existed before 2020. You can see lots of layman examples. There was school fees which parents didn't pay for 1 year. The government of Rajasthan, before that, the High Court of Rajasthan came forward and asked the school authorities to shut the the tuition fees for the people. So partial relief was given that the tuition fees were only uh, forgiven. Rest, the other fees they don't have to pay. After they have started the online classes, they have to pay partial fees. So that was a evolvement which have been done like by the courts. Initially no fees at all, then when they were giving the online services, they have started some fees, because also they have to see the school authorities, they have to pay the salaries out, so everything have to be done. So this was the COVID-19. Still, lots of piles of cases are there where the people have taken an excuse of force major laws. So it's still, the pandemic has not been over. Now it's been an ongoing endemic, which I don't know when it will be over, COVID-19 and everything. So still you can take the help of these measures. But from past thing, what I as a per se, as a lawyer or as a law student learn, is that whenever tomorrow I'll be drafting a agreement or a contract for my client or for my anyone who helps, who need my help, I'll be focusedly giving a very good time and a dedication to these bipolar clauses, which everybody thinks, okay, it's a general clause, it's a miscellaneous clause, okay, it's a standard thing, it's a standard practice. But no, the major thing all of you have to understand in a very plain layman language is, nothing is small or a big at that point of time. Whatever you feel tomorrow is a very small thing for you, maybe tomorrow it will be turning out a big huge thing. And force major clauses are such example in a legal arena where we have done this thing, that okay, it is important. So coming to the different, aftermaths and learning, we have been, we as a law students, as a general students, as a people from society have learned that you have to allocate the risk when you are drafting or when you are advising someone over a contract. Their life and your situations, your conditions are unpredictable. Your business is unpredictable. Maybe whatever you are promising today, you will not able to complete it tomorrow because of any situation, any impossible aspect. For example, tomorrow the government again comes and announces a lockdown, and I've been communicated to you guys, okay, I'll be delivering this webinar, and due to that lockdown there is an internet shutdown, I cannot connect with you. So my thing, you can come and sue me in the court of law that Miss Bhavna have done this thing. She have been not turned up to deliver a webinar which she had promised to deliver. But there, the concept called force major will be helping me out. So previously, people have drafted these clauses very in a normal or a general parlance. But now you have to see that whether your clients, whether your situations, whether the things or the conditions, the predictabilities have to be there to draft such law. You have to see those unforeseen calamities. Now everybody will be laughing and saying, how can we see something which is unpredictable? So that's when your professional knowledge, your the way of reading, the way of things, if you be knowing that what all is going around the society, will help you. For example, I stay in Ghana. Ghana is a very, like, I don't know, many of you have learned, have even know about Ghana or not. It's a country in West Africa. And if I say Africa, people have this thing in their mind that okay, there is a lot of no government, crimes, murders, riots, and military coup is there in Ghana or in Africa in general. But it's not like that. There are some parts of Africa where the military activities, military coup, terrorism, and other things are very prominent. And in Ghana, maybe it's not. But sitting in that part, when I'll be, delivering a copy of a contract to my client, I'll be ensuring that, all those words, all those obligations are being written in such a sense that maybe tomorrow I'll be advising my clients or not, but my clients will have, something or the other in their hands to save them in the eyes of law if any uncertain situation comes up. So I want you guys all to understand that even in a general life, or whether you are a lawyer, of course, when you are a lawyer or when you're a law students, or you're going into a profession, and you have a more responsibilities on your shoulder, because ultimately you are dealing with people, you are dealing with the society. Even as a normal person, we have a responsibility towards the society. We can't do a wrong to somebody like this. But when, as a law student, you are helping somebody out, or as a lawyer or as a professional, you are taking a responsibility to save someone. Just keep your eyes, keep your thinking as much as open as you can, because this is the only learning we have learned from COVID-19, that a clause like force major, which nobody was thinking that okay, this is will be so important, now it's totally important. Now the words like quarantine, words like government regulations, the words like sanctions, word like lockdowns, word like endemic, word like pandemic are being included in the clause of force major, which, my dear, was not previously been included. Only the riots, only the terrorism, only the act of God was being included in there. But now the things have gone beyond that. Even now, the words like cyber attack, the words like nuclear attacks have been included in this, because the man and the human race is, I don't know how, but we people are excelling in all the negative aspects of the society. Ukraine and Russia, there will be a lot of people who will be having a normal business, but suddenly one day they've been into this war and things have disrupted. I'm very sure, I'm very pretty sure the people who have like I deal in cross-border transaction. I have a one Russian client, and because of this ongoing war, we have to stop the deliveries from Russia, and this clause had helped them. This clause have helped them to get some of the refunds, and some of the obligations have to be forego, but some of the other time we have got a partial refunds. So while drafting a contract, while dealing with people, while dealing with society, don't take things very lightly. Take the clauses, take your law, take every facet of life. Even me, I have seen the concept. The lawyers can take an advantage of the people who are sitting into the different professions. Like you can take an concept, taken help from people who is studying psychology, by knowing people, knowing how they act and everything. The people from the normal humanities or the art school can take the help of their friends who are sitting in the school of law, while dealing with the normal general things, like okay, some student have an issue with their tenancy agreement, they can approach to their friends. But just, my dear, you all have to be very openly welcoming different new learnings in your life. Don't you know suffocate yourself, don't narrow your aspects, just go beyond that. And this topic was a very general topic to deliver this thing, that law is beyond what is being written in those 10 to 15 pages of a contract. You can interpret it, courts can interpret it. Sometimes it's strictly interpreted because it's codified, but sometimes there's a fashion or tweaking reliefs given by the courts now and then. And nowadays there is nothing called heads or tail. There are multifaceted aspects of a coin. So just go beyond that. I hope the session goes well, and if you have any issues or queries, you can ask right now.
So now the
So now the
platform is open
platform is
for the
open for the
questions. If
questions.
anyone
If
has
anyone
any
has
query,
any
please
query,
write in the
please write
chat
in the
box.
chat box.
मुझे नहीं पता इधर आ जाओ
Harshita, chat is not available, so can you speak for like asking questions?
Now it is
Now it is
available. Please
available.
check.
Please check. Okay.
Do anyone of you have a question, or we are about to over this?
Ma'am, there is a
Ma'am, there is a
question.
question.
Okay, so Ms. Shrishti have asked, what are the circumstances under which the invocation of force majeure is not accepted? Okay, so as I guys told you that the parties have to prove that the obligations under the contract were delayed or were frustrated to I can say were frustrated at such a level that their performance was not being possible, right? So you have to prove this, that because of this situation happened which was so unpredictable, because of frustration we are not able to, or the party is not able to perform, then only the force majeure will be invoked by the clause. When it will not be accepted, okay, I can give you an example. During COVID-19, my lord, I'm not able to go for a dinner with my in-laws. Was a very, and seriously, it was a matter in a court of law where in-laws have sued their son-in-law for not coming for a dinner. I know you all be laughing what she's saying, but it's a matter of Illinois, and it has been done that they have arranged a very fancy party for the son-in-law, welcoming and everything, and he was not able to go there just because he have given an excuse to the court that because of COVID-19 I can't come. He have not given the proper facts or proper explanation that why because of COVID-19 he was not able to come. Is it because some sanctions have been applicable on in his area? Is it because he don't have accessibility to go to that event? So that time, though there was a force majeure clause, just 1 minute please, I'm answering one by one, and I'll be taking all your answers, all your questions, so don't worry about that. So that time, invocation of force majeure was not accepted by the court. You have to prove, your counsel have to prove that okay, some aspects were beyond our control, that were not able to complete our obligations. Then only the force majeure is accepted. In normal general parlance, you cannot walk into a court of law and ask, okay, you know, I just want to invoke my force majeure clause. I have not done this thing because of my force major thing. The next, I hope this suffice. The next question is, ma'am, for activating force major clause and taking benefit of this, do we need to mention this specifically in the contract? See, that what I was saying, that pre-drafted contracts before 2020, where the force major clauses were not there, but still, when the situations like COVID-19 have arrived, which were totally unprecedented, unpredictable by anyone, courts have given somewhat relief, or I can say a partial relief, to the people in whose contract there was no force major clauses. But if you see, in a normal percentage of the matters which have been gone through the force major clauses, in which the force majors were challenged, the court have actually seen whether in the contract there is a force major clause or not. Of course, you will be more beneficial if your force major clause will be there in a copy of a contract, and it determines and it includes all the aspects. That's what I'm saying. Even in some of the contract copies which were pre-drafted 2020, there was a force major. The term force major is mentioned, but it was not elaborative. That's what I'm continuously saying, you guys, that there are very, you know, we as an advocates or you as a students always think, okay, general clause, standard clause, okay, let them be. But no, nothing is small, my dear. So force major was very important, and it will definitely benefit you more, once it been included in the copy of your contract. So nowadays, all the lawyers, I don't know, apart from other aspects, important aspect of the contract, everybody is emphasizing on this particular issue of force major and putting a broad definition of the concept of force major. Next question is, what if we haven't mentioned that clause in the contract, will be able to benefit of that? See, when the term force majors are not there, there's a very thin line difference between the concept called frustration of contract. This is not a codified concept frustration of a contract. It's a general precedent where court has seen that, okay, because of these circumstances, I can say you, or because of the situation, the contract has been frustrated. It is practically impossible to give or to perform under such circumstances for your contractual obligation. But that doesn't come under the concept of force majeure. Force majeure is being strictly interpreted by the courts if the concept or if the clause is there in the contract copy, right? The court will see word by word, comma by comma, that what all the events are mentioned into force majeure. But if something is beyond that, it comes under the doctrine of frustration. So it's just a doctrine, it's not something codified, it's a concept of jurisprudence which states that, okay, this thing is impossible to perform and the contract has been frustrated. That depends ultimately on the court and on the parties how they will be proving that doctrine of frustration. Okay, the next question is, can both parties to the contract claim relief under a force majeure? For sure, for sure, both the parties simultaneously. The event guy have asked not to refund the fees of 5 lakhs to the guys, the one example I was giving you back down there. And you also know, you have also heard in your relatives that we have given this much amount to the banquet wala, and we are not happening this shadi because only 25 people are allowed. So there are some people who have gone there and get a partial refunds, some they have not get anything, some they get a total refunds. So both the parties in the partial refunds, the banquet wala have come and plead that, oh my lord, we have been also, I have done this decoration, I have installed everything in my banquet, and still this is not happening. So they have given a partial refund. Okay, you don't give 5 lakh exact, just give 2.5 because you have installed a new this thing, cctvs and everything, because that the event was happening. So both the parties can for sure benefited by the force majeure clause, because the other parties, even not monetarily or even they are not giving something out of it, they'll have this relief. Okay, why this thing have not been done, why the airplane delivery has not been done because of this situation, but the court have given them the relief. Okay, sorry, sorry, when and the situation allows, just deliver these airplane. At least they will have this kind of relief that, okay, airplanes are there, whatever I have paid, it's there. I'll be just benefiting after once the situation goes. Force majeure is not something that once the clause have came into the effect and you are just like, okay, the contract is finished, everything is finished. No, you have to mitigate, you have to reduce the effect of that circumstances on your contractual obligation. It's not something once the force major is there, so you see the, okay, the now the contract is finished, you don't have to pay now like you don't have to deliver the rest 8 of the airplanes. No, it's not like that. Is that's just for that meantime, it helps you to give an excuse that because of this situation I'm not able to perform, but once the situation is over, I'll be performing. This is the one aspect. Okay, one is, okay, आज इतना टेररिज्म हो गया कि कंट्री ही खत्म हो गई. There are some parts of Ukraine which has been vanished. So वहां से जो भी प्रोड्यूस आ रहा था वो पॉसिबल ही नहीं है. वहां पे आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फ्रस्ट्रेट होके फोर्स मेजर लग के खत्म हो जाता है. बट one aspect is there, when the things will be into normal cleancy, the things or the business will start again, the contract will be normal. So force majeure is not something that, okay, you will get complete gatherings or complete knockout of your contracts. No, you are not knocking out your contracts, you're just getting a relief for non-performance for that period of time when the flood was there, or when the government have announced lockdown, or when the you see the riots were there. For that period of specific period of time, you're not able to perform. And then of course the parties come to the court of law, they discuss about the things, and they will of course bring amendments on those contracts. Okay, now what next? Because nobody wants to stop a business like this. If a money is up doing a business with somebody somewhere, some person is sitting in a Germany, and to cause for this transaction. They don't want to stop a business from their suppliers just because of a COVID. Because COVID nowadays, you can see things are improving. People are coming back on track. So why not the contracts will come back on track? It's not something, no, you're not paying a school fees, you're not paying a college fees, my dear, you all are paying. But for that period of time, the authorities have decided, okay, because the people are not working, parents are not doing their businesses somewhere or other, because of the economic hardships, the things are being affected. So for that 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, the fees have been